I'm a big believer in showing and not talking so much. Talk to find out what you're trying to do and then do it.
Hi, I'm Pam MacKinnon, Artistic Director of American Conservatory Theater, A.C.T, and this is Place Here, Time Now. My guests today are lighting designer Allen Lee Hughes and sound and composer Jake Rodriguez. This is going to be fun. Jake Rodriguez is a sound designer and composer based in the San Francisco Bay Area. His recent A.C.T credits include A Christmas Carol on Air, Top Girls, The Great Leap, Her Portmanteau, and Sweat. Other notable regional productions: Wink at Marin Theater Company, Oedipus El Rey at the Magic Theater, Between Two Knees at Oregon Shakes. Also Angels in America at Berkeley Rep, and The Christians at Actors Theater of Louisville, and Playwrights Horizons and the Mark Taper Forum. Jake Rodriguez is the recipient of a 2004 Princess Grace Award, and we're going to give him an honorary MFA in May. Welcome, Jake Rodriguez. Good friend Allen Lee Hughes is a lighting designer. His Broadway designs include A Soldier's Play, for which he has a Tony nomination, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, and Clybourne Park. I directed both of those. Having Our Say, Mulebone, Once on This Island, K2, Strange Interlude, Accidental Death of an Anarchist, and Quilters. His work has been seen at major theaters, including A.C.T, Arena Stage, Seattle Rep, the Goodman Theater, the Guthrie Theater, the Mark Taper Forum, the Roundabout Theater Company, New York Theater Workshop, and Playwrights Horizons. He designed Clybourne Park and Tony Stone, among others, with me. He is proud to have been honored with 4 Tony nominations, an Outer Critics Circle Award, U.S.I.T.T Distinguished Achievement Award, Merit Award for Excellence in Design and Collaboration, and 2 Helen Hayes Awards. The Allen Lee Hughes Fellows Program at Arena Stage started in 1990 and clearly was named after him. Welcome, Allen. So Allen and Jake, you worked together on Lynn Nottage's play Sweat, directed by Loretta Greco. That was the inaugural production of my moment as artistic director.
Bam!
That was the kickoff. That was it.
Right.
And did you know each other beforehand?
No.
Nope. That was our first time.
You both knew the director, right? You both knew Loretta, is that?
Correct.
I adore lighting designers and sound designers. I sort of think of them as like, oh, these are my 2 collaborators who really think about time and really think about accumulation. There's something like liquid in the design. Yeah, I'm excited to have this conversation with the 2 of you. I'm going to start, Jake, with you. How did you come to theater, and why sound and why composition?
At a certain point, I convinced my mom in particular to put me into acting classes. This is at like age 7, maybe. And for a good chunk of my childhood, I did the LA actor kid, failed child actor in LA kind of thing. And that was like TV and movie stuff, not so much theater at all. Somewhere around my adolescence, we stopped doing that. And coincidentally, at the same time in school, they started offering drama classes. And that kind of was my in to theater at that point. And then I started doing theater in middle school, junior high, and high school. And then kind of stuck with theater and lost interest in doing, professional acting in LA. The same time that I got involved in theater, I also started experimenting with playing music. So there was a little bit of a parallel path where I was an actor and I was doing music. At a certain point, the 2 sort of crossed and met in the middle. I think I was in New York and I saw a series of City Company plays with Darren West doing the sound design. This was like in 97. And I was like, wow, I could do that. I could do like that type of sound for the plays that I act in. So I had met in college Mark Jackson, who works at A.C.T, and I had been working with him, and I sent him a letter from New York, and I was like, hey, the next play we work on, I want to do the music for it. you know. So and sure enough, the next play we did, I was acting in and doing, I didn't even know what sound design was at all. I was like making noises on tapes, you know, on cassette tapes. And over pretty short period of time, I started phasing out of acting, which I had been doing my whole life at that point. Music was newer to me, so it was a newer sort of excitement. I started to just kind of take on first just making noises for plays, and then I sort of discovered what sound design was. I remember one of the first plays I did, I made the music for the play, and then I just kind of handed it to the team, and I was like, well, I'm not in this play, so you don't need me around anymore, right? Like, I'm done, here's the music. They're like, can you be around for tech, actually? It was confusing to me. Why would I need to be around for tech? I'm not in the play. Um, but so I sort of learned what sound design was through that process. And now I rarely act. I really don't do the on-stage performance anymore. I still do music as a performance, and I work in sound design and theater. And that's kind of how those lines have moved.
And Alan, did you ever act? What was your entry point into theater?
Oh, I acted a little. I don't even remember what grade, but at some point I played the wizard in The Wizard of Oz. I
Yes.
yes, you know, and I don't remember acting other than that. You know, it's been so long ago, but. Uh, no, I got started in theater in ninth grade. A guy walked into our homeroom and pointed to three of us and said, "Come with me. You're gonna run follow spot." And we protested that we didn't know anything about running follow spot, and he said, "I'll teach you." And I learned to run follow spot, and I kind of liked it. And, you know, I hate to admit it, but I became like an audiovisual nerd. I can say that now because I believe I proved myself as a storyteller, and I'm not no longer a technical nerd for sure. I depend on technicians a lot and appreciate what they do. Yeah, so then I went to high school and became co-captain of the stage crew, and a guy came to visit our school with his company, and I was asked to see if there were any technical rehearsals that they could come to, that the stage crew could come to. And he said, "Well, we can do better than that. We may have jobs for some of you." Little did I know that jobs meant for no money, but nevertheless, I in my final years of high school, ran light board for them one night a week. Went to summer stock with that group, and then went to college. Because of the people I met in summer stock, I was doing this show, running light board for the show at the Washington Theater Club, but now defunct theater in Washington. But the designer of that show was a resident designer at Arena Stage, and he invited me to come do overnight changeovers. And that's how I got started with Arena Stage. After college, I spent 4 years at Arena Stage, and then decided it was time to move out of Washington, leave Arena Stage, move to New York and get a master's degree if I ever wanted one. Went through NYU school and started designing and haven't looked back.
Yeah, amazing. And you and I actually first met at Arena Stage.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, very much as an artistic home for you. And there's even a fellowship named after you that really supports amazing artists coming up behind you, right? I
Right.
mean, it's now been, dozens of people.
Oh, well, it's been over 700 people that are working in theaters throughout the country. So,
That's amazing, Alan. And what
Wow.
that, you
Wow.
know,
and how did that start?
Okay, so Zelda Chandler, the artistic director of Arena Stage, was criticized with another artistic director at a TCG conference about the lack of diversity at Arena. Now, Arena started as a theater supportive of minorities. It was started when the National Theater, which was then the only theater in Washington, this was before the Kennedy Center and the hundreds of theaters that exist now. Um, but she was criticized, and Zelda had this theory, a philosophy, which I really appreciate, and that is criticism is the best free advice you can get. And so put it on your to-do list and carry on. And so she did that. She went out and got money and revamped not only the company, but tried to make the audience more diverse. And she also started the fellowship, which was basically an internship to help minorities get the same advantages that others had received by starting at the bottom and working their way either up in the organization or at another theater.
Let's talk a little bit about the art. So, Jake, you mentioned that you were inspired by a sound designer working in a rehearsal setting. Do you have an aesthetic?
I know I have an aesthetic. I strive to expand my horizons. I think definitely I love getting into a space where I'm like, not sure how I'm going to figure this out. We'll see what happens and experiment and, you know, fail or succeed. In my music world, I have a pretty pronounced aesthetic where I come from kind of a strange out there, outer space place. I don't necessarily strive to put that into theater. Though I think I really come to a play and try and let it hit me, however it's going to hit me. I think often at least in my experience, I can't speak generally, but in my experience of sort of being, you know, stationed in the Bay Area and being a designer and being a sound designer in particular, you know, often for local plays, I get a lot of my work locally as opposed to being shipped around all over the country. I do get a fair chunk of my work from theaters in the Bay Area, A.C.T. and Berkeley Rep, Cal Shakes, and Shotgun Players. And frequently designers are coming in from out of town. And, you know, there's a limited amount of time that an out of town designer can be in town, whether because of work or just, you know, the amount it costs to house somebody coming in from out of town. So I often have an advantage in that I get to sit around in rehearsal for a larger chunk of time than other designers who might be coming in from out of town. Also because I come from, you know, acting in theater, being in rehearsal has always been a part of my process with theater. So I get a lot of my ideas from being in the rehearsal process in the weeks leading up to going to tech. Then it's sort of a melding of the minds when all the designers come in and get to play together. But I get a lot of my inspiration from the actors themselves, from being in the room and from all of us like trying to create something together at the same time. It feels more organic for me that way. I think it's partly because I come to sound design without any kind of real formal education, or even in theater, not so much formal education. I did go to San Francisco State for a few years, but I dropped out. I've never been too good in an academic place. So that's just not how my learning comes. So partially it's, I sort of need to figure it out in real time with everybody else. I have a harder time sort of plotting forwards on paper ideas about sound. It's a tough thing, you know, to sort of like plot that stuff out. I can plot out like a sound system, but not necessarily the ideas that I'm coming up with, whether it's music, if I'm composing, or if I'm, you know, just kind of trying to, you know, support the sound environment that the play needs in order to tell the story. I get a lot of that just from being in the room with the director and maybe the writer and the actors and figuring that stuff out. And then it's like a whole new gameplay when the other designers are in the room, maybe a little bit before we go into tech, and then throughout the whole tech process.
We did A Christmas Carol this last year as a radio play, largely
Right.
due to COVID, but also the A.C.T traditionally does the Bay Area Christmas Carol. We wanted to keep that tradition alive. And you were such an important part. And director Peter Quo told me that actually the first cut or first edit of the on-air Christmas Carol was literally, he felt too scary because of some of the sound cues.
Yeah.
But he felt, okay, we've got to go through this. We've got it. Like, it's too, like, this Christmas Carol's too scary.
Scrooge started back, appalled. Spirit, are they yours?
They are man's. This boy is ignorance. This girl is want. Beware them both and all of their degree, but most of all, beware this boy. For on his brow is written doom.
Well, here, my little secret is that it's really easy for me to be too scary and too spooky. And in fact, I'm constantly told, I mean, Loretta Greco, who I love and I work with all the time, you know, her first take on some stuff I give her usually is like maybe a little bit less in the suicidal realm, or, you know, I mean, it's, you know, or a little too spooky. I get a little too spooky quite a bit. So I expected I might overreach and then I would get reined in. In fact, that's generally how I go. Part of my process is maybe I put a little too much out there or not enough, and, you know, then need to get either reined in or encouraged to go further in that direction. I built this instrument for this Christmas Carol for the radio that I call Marley, that is just like this wood board with all these different pieces of metal and different things I can bow and strike. Because I knew I'd be creating a lot of new sound design for this radio play version. And I originally did the stage production of this adaptation of Christmas Carol 15 years ago or so. And we've added a little here and there, but a lot of that stuff is from 15 years ago, you know, me sitting in a room and screaming into a mic for the giant bird creature and stuff. And, you know, we didn't have a bird creature for this radio play, so we didn't have a giant bird puppet that we usually rely on for the big Christmas future moment. So I had to sort of create a whole new way of evoking that kind of feeling. But yeah, too scary, not a problem for me. Not at all.
Allen, I always feel that I lean on you kind of in those moments where I've been in the weeds, and then you enter the room and you ask the big question. You know, you ask, like, why is this happening?
Right.
And what does that mean? It's sort of a basic question, and I always mean that as like a fundamental question.
I quoted you the other day. I said, one director always says, Allen asked the questions that everybody's thinking, but nobody wants to ask.
That's it.
I said, you know, I'll be the dummy. Why are we doing this, you know, this way, you know?
Yeah. And I so value it because around the corner, if we're doing our job, let's say at the Geary Theater, 1,000 dummies are about to watch this story, right?
Exactly,
You know, 1,000 people who don't know the day-to-day struggle and what we've all been talking about. So you're the person who says, I'm going to ask it before the audience comes in.
Right.
What is this about?
So, you know, I love your description of liquid design and designers. And I really feel that's appropriate. You know, we are the last people before the audience, you know, with the actors, we in tech, you know, put it all together. And it's really an exciting part of the process. And, you know, I love that.
And some of it is, you can have design moments that are very forward, very noticeable. And then other times, both lights and sound, they can be more felt than heard or seen.
Right,
And Alan, you and I have worked on both kinds of plays.
right,
You're bringing up a little bit of light right before an actor's about to cross over there. And
right,
hopefully, unless a light switch goes on, nobody in the audience is any wiser. And then
right.
we've also worked on plays like most recently Tony Stone, where there are moments where like it's your job to create like a new space.
Exactly. Then one of my friends said on Facebook that you've seen Alan in mostly subtle plays, and this is a time that he gets his pop and sizzle. So
About Tony Stone, you mean?
about Tony Stone, yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, no,
So
big pop
yeah,
and sizzle. Absolutely. In a very, quote unquote simple set, or at least, a sort of a surround, a container for the story. And it was all on you.
I often think of you as the director, the genius that you are. It was written that we started the play in a spotlight. So I dutifully, had a spotlight there. And, we decided that that wasn't the way to start the play at all.
Hmm.
And we totally changed it. And, we did it immediately so you could see it. I'm a big believer in showing and not talking so much. Talk to find out what you're trying to do and then do it, so the director can see it and decide.
Congratulations, Alan, on your Tony nomination. Is this nomination number 4? Is that right?
That is actually correct.
That is actually
Uh,
correct. Yay.
and as you may or may not know, I'm one of the few people that's had the nomination for the longest period of time because of COVID shutdown.
Ah.
Normally, it's about a month, I think, that you're nominated, and I've had maybe close to a year. One of the things I'm proud of is it's not just about the lighting. I feel on my shows. For example, on Clybourne Park, you won an award for that, right?
I won an Obie Award, and you were my date. You were my date at the Obies. We sat side by side.
Right. And didn't you win a Tony?
I was nominated for a Tony Award
Okay.
for Clybourne Park, and then I won a Tony Award the next season, also because I worked with you on Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf.
Okay,
Yes.
so it was Virginia Woolf that
It was
you won the
Virginia Woolf.
Tony. Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but my back-to-back Broadway shows were lit by Allen Lee Hughes, and got nominated on both of them, and won the second go round. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So you two are deep together.
We're pretty deep together. Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
awesome.
And it's funny that I was forced upon her in that
At Arena, yeah.
stage, which is how I got a lot of shows, started working with directors. There was a time at Arena Stage that I did a number of shows, and directors didn't have a choice about who they worked with. And they worked with me once and liked working with me. And so that always felt good. It feels good to go be invited back to a theater.
Frequently, at the very top of the play is a little bit of language. And I'm going to ask the two of you, after I read a playwright's version of Place Your Time Now, to describe your place and time. That could be physical, because this is a podcast, so people want to know where you are. Or it could also be an emotional state. Here we are, hopefully a little more hopeful, coming through COVID. We can maybe see the light at the end of the tunnel. I'm not going to impose that on you, but I'm just sort of saying. Okay, so here's a Place Your Time Now by Bruce Norris for Clybourne Park.
Right.
The set is the interior of a modest 3-bedroom bungalow, 406 Clybourne Street, in the near northwest of central Chicago. There is a sitting room with front door access, a fireplace with an oak mantelpiece, a separate dining area with built-in cupboards. At the rear of the dining area, a swinging door leads to a kitchen. A staircase leads up to the second floor, and beneath it, another door leads down to a basement. There is a hallway and a bathroom door as well. Act 1, September 1959, 3 o'clock, Saturday afternoon. Lights. Okay, so that's Clybourne Park's Place Here, Time Now. I wonder, Jake.
The setting is Richmond, California. I'm in my house, having just returned from a little mini vacation about an hour ago. My family drove up to Guerneville, the Russian River, and we were there for a couple of days. It's the first time I've been anywhere in the past year. And it was a very successful vacation. So I'm in the sort of afterglow of my first time away in the past year. And playing in the background is my brand new tape, which happened to arrive in the mail while I was away on vacation. So I came home to a box full of tapes of my new tape. And I was listening to it, and it sounded really good, and I was really happy about how it came out. The room is lit just from the natural sunlight through the blinds, and it's afternoon.
Allen, Place Here, Time Now.
So I am in my apartment in New York, which is 1 bedroom, and I'm happy to be able to afford to live alone at my age. And I have 3 large windows, or 3 normal sized windows that are together with blinds over them. And the blinds are shut so that you can see me on Zoom. I have a desk light that's shining on my face, as well as a ring light, and the kitchen light that's coming from my left. And I am an old guy now, and I'm a teacher. And so my hope and future lies in not my designs, but the designs and success of my students. I do still work, but I do put my faith in my students to, be my legacy. So that's where I am.
That's great. I love that both of you really centered around sound for one and lights for the other. That felt right. That's amazing. That's amazing. Is there anything else we should talk about?
Yeah, what's going on with Tony Stone? Do you
Right.
know?
Well, exactly. No. So next stop, Tony Stone Arena Stage. Molly wants it to kick off their season. It's all about health and safety, and I'm sure dates are coming.
Okay.
Yeah. No, we're gonna get the gang back together and put it up there.
Right.
You're not done with me yet.
There's a Tony Stone Street now in San Francisco,
I
right?
saw it.
Yeah.
Yes, right?
That. Right.
It's now out there. Milwaukee, Atlanta, Chicago's
Cool.
I think the Goodman's going to do it.
Cool.
It'll be a
That's
big
awesome.
play.
Right.
So that was my conversation with Allen Lee Hughes and Jake Rodriguez. This has been Place Here, Time Now. Please check out our other episodes wherever you get your podcasts. Bye for now.